Hey everyone, it looks like we are live. We made it to yet another Wednesday. How are you today? We are going to try and work on the forms, making the forms round in the painting. So that's going to be, a challenge and a lot of fun. We're going to do our best and leave the rest up to God. And so that's what we're doing tonight. Let's see who we have today. We have Mr. Dan from Indianapolis. How are you, sir? Mr. Steve Leahy, how you doing, sir? All the way from Ohio. And then we have Astral. Hi, Astral. How you doing from the UK? How's everything, gentlemen? So glad you're here. Dave Gregory, all the way from Texas. How are you, sir? Great to see you. How's everything? So glad you're here, my friend. So we have uh, a great group already. So that's I sent an invite to a lot of different groups on Facebook. My goal today, this week, is to hit 30 concurrent viewers. Right now, I think my record is 27. So if I can hit 30, so if anyone out there could go ahead and just share this, that would be great because I really want to hit 30. And Patty, how you doing all the way from Illinois? How's everything going? Great to see you. So glad you're here. And I just want to say a prayer for our friends out in Florida, family and friends in Florida. They're really getting hammered right now by Milton, and that's rough. So, um, that's no good. But I heard it's not as bad as they envisioned. But you never know until the next day what exactly uh, you know is happening with that. So it's too early to tell. So today we are going to continue, everyone. We're going to continue with our lifeline colors. Going to deepen the flesh color, right? And these are the lifeline colors by Createx, which are wonderful, wonderful company. And we are also going to work on her lips. And I have this color, which is part of the lifeline, which is a natural lip. And it really is a good color. It is right on the money with most lip colors. So that's going to be fun. And for her wing, there's a lot of those beautiful golden yellows over here. That's going to be nice. It's kind of golden sienna color, raw umber right over here. And I think we're going to use our wicked colors along with some of some illustration to kind of kill the chroma or saturation on them. So that's the plan. So let's see. Now what I'm going to do, and I do have my wet palette here, you can see. It stunk really bad, and I know you can appreciate this, Mr. Steve. It kind of smelled like a combination of cat pee and the locker room of the New York Knicks. It was like really bad. So I washed it really good, soaked it in antibacterial soap, and now it's back and ready to go. I got some nice little brushes if I need them. But what I'm going to be doing really is working on the larger shapes, right? That's what we're going to be doing. Mark, how you doing all the way from Calgary? Great to see you. That's fantastic. And so I'm so glad you're here. Astral says he was looking at that range and he flipped a coin. Harder and Steenbeck Infinity 2024 or the Bloodline. Harder and Steenbeck 1. That's very cool, but I want you to get the lifeline eventually when you're doing portraits. It's going to really, when you're doing portraits, it's going to streamline your work. It really is great. But congratulations on your new airbrush, Astral. Let me know how you like it. Steve says, yes, you has to wash it out only often because of the summer. So for Christmas, oh, congratulations, early Christmas present. That's for sure. And Dave says, that was an interesting visual for his nostrils. Yes. Yes, it was really bad. I was like, oh man, that's it. Also, I think I should have used purified water instead of tap water in here. And so, did I learn my lesson? No, I put tap water in it again. So, I'm just going to wash it out. When I'm done, I'm just going to dry it out and then, wait until I'm using it again. So, I think that's probably the best thing. Learn from Mr. Steve Leahy's experience. So, the first thing I want to do is I want to work on her lips. As you can see, her lips are pretty void. And let's see if we could go ahead and situate these. I want to make sure I'm putting it in the correct way. So I have it so I can peel back the upper lip, and I can put the upper lip and have it covered, and I can peel back the lower lip. So it's a pretty ingenious little technique there. And I learned it in my travels, watching other talented artists do that. And so that's a lot of Angel Wings. How you doing? It's great to see you. And that is cool, cool. And Angel Wing says, "Are you in the airbrush groups on Facebook?" Yes, definitely. Angel Wings. I'm in quite a bit of them. Ink Flingers. What's the new airbrush for beginners? All that stuff. So it's great to see you, Angel Wings. Where are you from? I always ask that of people who come online. And Steve Leahy says, they say to put copper in it will discourage the fungal farming. I use a couple of pieces of copper wire. Now, do you find that slows it down a little bit, sir? I'm sure if you're using it, it does work. I'm going to try it. And I'm going to put down my magnets here. And it's funny, I'm only going to be using this color very shortly, right? So I'm going to take my lifeline. And this is the 5028. This is the lifeline. Oh, definitely. I'm going to give it a shot, sir. I'm not going to put too much in because we're only doing the lips. I may save it to do some of the rich red hues in her cheeks and the more bloody areas in our face. Blood, I mean under the surface, not above the surface, thank goodness. I don't want to do that kind of artwork. Let's see. I am going to get my water. It's really difficult, working in oils and pastel and airbrush all in 1 week. And so it gets really harrowing as far as space goes. But eventually I'll solve that problem. And Angel Wing says, "Yippee, you're an airbrush beginner's advice from the pros and post anything airbrush groups on Facebook." And, oh, Colorado. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Angel Wings. And I'm so glad to see you all the way from Colorado. Beautiful country over there. Beautiful area, I should say. Beautiful state. Oh, there's no air in my compressor, so I have to turn it on. And let's see. So I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming, Angel Wings. Bobby, how's it going? Great to see you, sir. How are you today? I'm going to mix this 1-to-1 with water. 1-to-1 is good. It's not too thin, right? It's not so thick it's not going to go through the airbrush, which is good. So Astral says, "Is ammonia any good for moldy or wet palettes?" His mom used it a lot for drains. Interesting. That is really interesting. I would love to hear how that goes. And Mr. Leahy says they use it on all homemade ponds here in Ohio. They all look like electric blue toilet water, but no green growth. Wow, that's interesting. Very cool. So here we are. And I did the Drew Blair method, which I just have water in my airbrush. So I sent out a nice shiny Extreme Patriot arrow today for Big Mountain Customs, and I worked really hard on that airbrush. Um, it doesn't leave my studio until I know it can do everything that I ask it to. And I get a little jealous when I send them out because it just works so well. You know, I'm getting these like super hairs, and it's really great. And I'm like, oh, I want to use this airbrush, but I'm happy to share it with you all. And so I was able to uh, give someone a really nice airbrush this week. Sent it out today, actually, which is cool. Ammonia is great for cleaning airbrushes, very diluted. That I never thought of that, Dave. That's a great idea. Thank you, sir. Okay, so now I am going to work on the upper lip. Here's the thing, I don't want to go too dark, just like when working in inks. Too dark, too soon, too bad, right? And so let's just ever so slowly. I still need to do that 1 second rule. I'm not exempt from it. And I can see that this is very light, but that's okay because we want to build up that color, right? I mean, this painting is going to take a long time. I don't have to resolve that lip in one foul swoop, right? So let's go ahead and lift this up. Actually, before I lift it up, I'm going to do the lower lip. So I'll put this down, the upper lip. It's a really cool technique when you're making the stencils, you know? And, Bobby loves the airbrushes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You know, I really believe in them because I'm the only airbrush besides Mike Learn, which he makes great airbrushes, that really puts it through the paces before it leaves my studio, you know? And I really agonize over it. I change from when I get it, I change the air, the 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 air valves. I clean the inside of it. I make sure that all the threads are well defined. So a lot goes into it, and then I double check it, triple check it, making sure that it sprays not great, but super great. And Mr. Leahy says 30 viewers and 30 likes too. Hit it like the Titanic iceberg. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And Dave says specifically with acrylics. Very interesting. And so ammonia is definitely getting its airtime today. How cool is that? So now I have this very light natural lip color. I'm just establishing color, right? Not necessarily establishing value, but establishing color. And then we could, catch up with the color, and then catch up with the value. And like we just want to build up slowly. Every medium has its own way of working, right? It's not all the same. It's not a one size fits all. But you see how I just kind of got a nice shape of her lip there, and that's really cool. Beautiful flow today with the airbrush. I'm always thankful for that. Okay, so now it's a good start, right? It's just establishing, and so now I could probably, I have this color in here, and in oils I wouldn't do that, but with the airbrush I have it in the airbrush. So let's see if we can add some of this kind of pinkish hue, but it really doesn't work because it's a light value. It has a lot of white in it. So I got to be careful I don't go into the dark, because then I'll get a sort of a blue shift, in the sense that you'll end up with a purple. So you got to be careful, right? You definitely have to be careful. And we're just going to give a little bit of sweetness to her face, a little bit of fleshy colors. And Mr. Leahy says, Tim, can you talk about Dynastein's palette for portrait? Did he have favorites? Oh, yes, definitely. Great question. I love talking about Harvey. Harvey's port. Here's Harvey's portrait palette. So basically started with ivory black, and then we went to burnt umber, burnt sienna, raw umber. He liked ultramarine blue and also cerulean. Those were the two that I used with him. And as far as the reds, alizarin crimson. I mean, all the guys in that generation, Greenberg, Ginsberg, Harvey Dinnerstein, Ron Scher, alizarin crimson was the big color as far as the red. I didn't really see him use cadmium reds that often, or even cadmium oranges. None of that. He didn't have a pre-mixed or a tube of orange coming out. It was always mixing the orange. He liked green earth, right? That was really big. He didn't use colors like Viridian or, sometimes I remember him using Hooker's green, sap green. I have seen him use sap green. And as far as any purples, I don't remember that on his palette. Titanium white was really big, right? It wasn't zinc white, and it was ivory black. And oh, Naples yellow light was really a big color. So Naples yellow, mark that down. That was one of his major colors. Burnt umber, yes, and you know, Naples yellow, and then there was another color that came to mind, like a cadmium yellow. That was always like that on his palette, and that's about it. He had a special mixture, which is, yeah, earth tones are really big. He had this really special mixture as far as what he painted with, which was stand oil, which is a ultra refined linseed oil. It's very thick. In the beginning of the painting, he would dilute that 3 to 1 with turpentine to the stand oil. That would be in the beginning. And then he would gradually go to 1 to 1 with the stand oil mixture. So 3 to 1 to 2 to 1 to 1 to 1 as the painting progressed. And that kind of helped out the fat over lean, more oil in the beginning. No, less oil in the beginning, more oil at the end. So I hope that helps. And oh, thank you, Steve. Steve says, so amazing that you are in his artistic lineage. Yeah, it's funny, it's, I wouldn't say funny, but it's really cool to, you know, been able to study both oils and pastels with him, which I really am, so thankful to be able to study both of them with him. And, just studying with him, learning how to paint in the subways and all that. And oh, Wes Angel said, are you using 4021 reducer? Yes, I do use 4021 I haven't tried yet, Angel. Um, what I like using is the 4011 or water. So right now these are illustration colors and I'm just using water. And I'm using them 1 to 1. 1 part water, 1 part of the illustration colors. And I believe that's thin enough, so I don't have any issues or anything. When I'm using the Wicked paints, I don't use water because you really can't use water with them. You have to use the 4011, and then with the 4011, I may put a couple of drops of 4050 to make sure it adheres to the paper. So that's really good, especially adding 4050 a lot because I'm mixing it with the illustration colors. So that's cool. Mr. Roy, how's it going all the way from New Jersey? How's everything, sir? So glad you're here. Okay, so now I am going to go with a little bit of a deeper color. And I love the deep color in her flesh here. So I'm going to kind of hit this like sort of it's like a raw sienna raw sienna color, and it's kind of being knocked down with maybe like something like raw umber. But since we have the lifeline colors, we can pretty much use the olive colors, the olive gold. So we have this olive gold color, and let's see if that works for us. We're going to mix that. JC, how's it going? Great to see you. Mark W, how are you? How's everything? I'm so glad you're here, Mark. So thank you so much for hanging out. And Mark, where are you from again? I know JC's from the Atlanta area. So I always like to know where my friends are from. You can just give me the state. You know, I know you don't want to be giving anyone giving up their exact location, of course, right? So glad to see you, JC. So glad to see you, Mark. And so now I have this color. And we're going to see, I have a lot of these cups. I'm going to use more. So let's see. So right now we're looking at this, and this is kind of nice for the lighter color. So I'm going to put this aside. So this is the lighter color. And we're going to mix that 1-to-1 with water. And I'm going to look for my palette knife. And Patty, have a great night. You take care of yourself and have a wonderful weekend. Always a pleasure, and thank you so much for hanging out. So this will probably be my main color, right? It's a nice kind of tan color for her body. And so great, everyone here. Thank you so much. So now I'm going to go for the darker color. So this is olive gold, so I believe deep olive gold might be what we're needing. So that's how easy these lifeline colors are by Createx. Really amazing. Mix that up nicely and get another cup. I'm going to have to get some more cups up here, that's for sure. Now, Mr. Steve, I'm a bit of a rebel. You know, I was super lucky to, you know, work with Mr. Harvey, but I'm kind of rebellious. I have my own palette when it comes to oils, you know, my own working method, but none of that would have been possible without Harvey and his very generous teaching. But I really went my own direction. But, you know, I still have the DNA of Harvey in my work, you know, and without Harvey's tutelage, I would be not even half the artist I am today. And we have Emmanuel all the way from Ireland. Great to see you. How are you, sir? So glad you're here. So that is fantastic. And so here's a nice deep color. And we're going to go with that. We can always go darker, right? But going lighter is a pain in the neck. So let's start with our darker color. I mean our lighter color, because you want to work from light to dark. So here's our lighter color, and it's 1-to-1, you know, with water. I'm going to put the cap on. And I think I'm going to want to use one of my shields. And, oh yeah, that Beetlejuice was amazing, Steve. Great work, sir. Really fantastic stuff. And a lot of fun. A lot of fun to see you work and do your thing, sir. So Monday nights on Facebook, Steve Leahy, please check it out. You're going to learn tons and tons of stuff. Now, I'm looking for something that is going to be just the body. Now, I did have a face-only stencil. Hopefully it's in this envelope. Let's see. If not, we do it the old-fashioned way. And let's see. We're going to look over here if we have it. I saw an envelope here. Let's see. No, it looks like we're going to go into this the old-fashioned way. So we'll be using our freehand shields here, and we're just going to kind of crawl along the surface, right? And, oh, that's so great. Do I have enough spaghetti? I love spaghetti, actually. But I like rotini. Here's a quick question. What is your favorite pasta? That's always a good, everyone out there. We all have a favorite pasta, don't we? So right now I'm going to cover her face and I'm going to crawl along the surface here. And you see how I'm just deepening her flesh, and I'm going to wipe off my freehand shield. And you want to be free, you know? And oh yes, definitely. I'm gonna. I think I'm. Oh, ziti is fantastic. And oh, and the manual says tagliatelle. Oh wow, that's good. Is pizza pasta? It could be for you, sir. So I like rotini. I do like angel hair pasta. That's always fun. Just going to put my colors up here. And yeah, pizza is always good. Sicilian pizza is my absolute favorite. And we're just going to very slowly. So you want to build up your values, right? You don't want to go in like a cowboy and, you know, try to finish the painting in a couple of sprays. So we're just going to build up some of these dark values. She has such a wonderful ruddy complexion in this image, and I really want to express that. And also we want to, her face is lighter. Her complexion on her face is lighter. It does two things. It separates the face from her body, but it also creates the illusion of her face coming forward and her body moving back in space. So those two things. So like right here, it's darker in the underpainting, and I'm going to test the waters. I'm going to see how this lighter color works with that, and it's working pretty well. And you know, where it's lighter, it's not like it's going to be a big deal if you go with a darker color. You can always use the orange mixture with the white. But, you know, the best defense is just not to be there, right? So if you don't do it in the first place, that's just like one step you don't have to worry about. And JC says, is going great, Tim, Steve, Astro, Roy, Bobby, Mark. If I missed anyone, so great to see you, Mr. JC. How's life over there in the beautiful Atlanta area? Just deepening this. And I could build up the color, right? Slow and steady always wins the race, right? And I'm probably about 6 inches away, unless when I get really close, like up here, I may be about 3.5 to 4. And you can see how I'm just ever so slowly darkening these values. Now, I want to start going a little bit darker, but I need to build it up. But while I'm here and I have this deep olive color, actually not the deep olive color. This one is regular olive gold. We do have some elements of that in the bottom mandible area. Over here. Just some elements here and there. And like I said, Rome isn't built in a day. You're not looking at how it looks, you're looking about how you're going, you know. Steve says he needs pizza, and so that's cool. Just break out the bread and fish and we'll forgive you. And Steve says, Bug, there is a place here that makes macaroni and cheese pizza. Yeah, macaroni and cheese is really big in Cincinnati, isn't it? That's like their major thing. I think it's something going on with their macaroni and cheese. I think it's made with like spaghetti pasta. Very interesting. So I'm deepening all of this value here. So right here at the neck, I'm getting a little stingy with the paint a little bit. So I got to make sure that I kind of bring that home. Okay, so I'm kind of liking the way that kind of developed. But I'm also going to look and make sure that I'm setting up to make these forms three-dimensional, right? They have to turn into space. Oh, Nyack, yes. And that's cool. Nick, I know you don't pronounce anything. I don't even think you pronounce the N in that name, Mr. Bug, right? Gregory. It's pretty funny. So I'm just deepening the colors here. It's funny, with airbrush you just kind of have to feel it. It's a little different for me. It's not like other mediums. It's just something that, you know, you just have to eventually kind of get a feel. And then you get this surface texture and you kind of know to go forward. And so one of the things that I know I have to always do is make sure when I'm spraying, I hit and move. I don't stay in that area. And Mark W. says he feels like he's out of his league here with all you amazing artists. No, man, you're one of us. You're in our league, Mark. Think of this as a think tank, right? And Steve says Natick, nice town. I went to the mall there. I stayed there at the Travel Lodge. I was there for like maybe 3 days because we were just going into Boston most of the time, and that's where we just kind of slept. And Angel Wing says Verdaccio is the green underpainting style. Oh, interesting. Yes, that's an interesting thing. I never tried that, but it works very well with underpaintings for pastels. But it's a very radical kind of underpainting. You see, I'm just building up these values and also get some of this dark over there, which is going to be some sort of underpainting. I'm sorry, some sort of cast shadow of the hair onto her forehead or frontal bone area, which is really good. And oh, Astral says never came across that. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of Asian artists doing it. I think the way they might teach in the academies in Asia, they do a lot of that for Verdaccio. I've seen, but that's just my own limited experience. But I don't see it too much in the art schools here and the ateliers here in the States. But definitely in Asia. Definitely. It's an effective technique if worked well. Because what happens is, you see flesh, it's mostly oranges and reds and yellows. If you have green underneath, it's a complementary color. And what it does, it creates a vibration. And it also tones down your saturation and brings it into a more realistic kind of flow, right? Which is very important. So there's a lot of And of course, you know, you're working on the drawing, you're working on the underpainting, you're getting the values down in green, and then you're just applying the flesh colors on top, but the green keeps you in line, right? So that's important. It keeps you in line, which is perfect. Natick, so that's cool. Yeah. Okay, so now I want to come in with a deeper color. Now remember, this was our color we were just working on. And we're going to go with the next darker color because we want to have the compressed value zone, right? So we don't want to go from maybe value 2 to 3, value 2 to 6. We want to go 2, 3, 4, so we get that real slow turning of the forms. So that's important. It's compression of the values, 19th century French academic approach. Big fan of those guys, you know, Jules Joseph Lafay, William Bouguereau, you know, so many great painters of that period. Okay, so I'm going to dump out this darker color. And I'm still going to wipe the cup because it will change my value. And I want to be the one changing the value of my paint. I don't want the paint doing what it wants to do. And it's going to do what it wants to do unless we control it, right? So that's really important. Okay, here's our darker color. We're going to put that in here. I put too much in there. Okay. So I left a little bit on the cap. I want a little tiny bit of an interaction between those two colors. I'm going to get a scrap piece of paper. Let's see. This will do. And we're just going to see, make sure I'm getting the flow that I need. Look at this nice, deep, beautiful color. Oh, it's so beautiful. And I'm getting a really nice flow. Hats off to Mr. Drew Blair of, you know, how he taught me how to not deep clean the airbrush. Just put water in it. And I haven't had a better time. So it's really great. Angel Wing says, BMD Portraits does a lot of pencil art with green underpainting. Wow, that's cool. I got to look them up. Are they on Facebook, Angel Wings? Okay, here goes the deeper color. Here is the trapezius muscles as it comes down into the acromion process into the deltoid. And then from here, you have the sternocleidomastoid connecting, and so the sternocleidomastoid comes from the back of the woman's head. It comes across. It splits into two. One attaches to the clavicle and the other attaches to the sternum. So, and you'll notice that if one sternocleidomastoid is tight, the other one has to be loose. This is tight, this is loose. So remember that. If one, you know, muscles come in pairs. If one is tight, the other one's going to be loose. It's not going to be tight on both sides unless someone is like really, you know, I don't know, kind of doing something like grimacing or something. But I think in nature, pretty much whatever is loose, the next one is going to be tight and vice versa. So this is a very light color. But the thing is that I can use it as a real soft transition from the regular olive gold. And so I'm going to get a real beautiful, super beautiful turning of the forms. And that's where the compression of the values doesn't mean you're not paying attention to the values. It's just you're turning those forms ever slowly. You're not relying on the super dark colors and the super light colors. And see how soft that is. And also helps me with the drawing a little bit. I know I'm going darker, but right now I'm forcing myself to be compressed. And also the 1 second rule, which is super, super important. Steve, have a great night, sir. So glad you're here. And you're only playing with one car. That's rough. So, yes, so get some sleep and take care. And I hope you guys have 2 cars. God blesses you with 2 cars very shortly. See how I'm getting that really soft gradations. And I'll come in with a darker color, but first I'm going to get this really nice, soft, slow turning of the form. So I'm pretending that I can feel that trapezius move. So I'm kind of feeling that trapezius turn. Pretending I can touch it. And I can always, so you see how nice and soft I am with that. And now I'm going to go to this part of the sternocleidomastoid, and then this is the tracheal area in between. So I want to protect her face. So I did have a stencil on this, but I seem to have lost it. There we go. And you see how just nice and slow, I'm just going to make this turn. Don't worry how it looks. Just keep your head in the game. Stick in this area. You know, don't move. Don't get nervous. You know, it might not look exactly the way you like it right now. Your job is to work on the problem at hand. That's your only job, you know? And, oh, cool. So Mr. Gregory likes the knowledge of anatomy. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And everyone's saying goodnight to Mr. Steve. That's cool. And JC flashed Steve a car for him. If only it's that easy, right, guys? Just going to make sure this turns. And I'm kind of softening up those values a little bit. Compressing those values. Right over here, gonna kind of protect the mandible. The hard edge. We definitely can come in with a deeper value and a lighter value here. Right here we have the clavicle. We don't want to get too wet, so hit and move, let it dry, and then we can decide if we want to add more or we're okay. We got this is a cylinder shape, right? Her arm. So we have to paint that cylinder. See, I went a little too wet. Just put some air on that, and then it's all good. And you can see I have to extend this dark down, which is important, you know. And don't worry if you're not getting the values right away. Just build it up slowly. It's best to be patient. Everything's going to look real fuzzy at first until you start defining things. Plenty of time to define stuff. This dark color is really right here in this maxilla area. So I'm actually going to spray some of this deep olive right in here. Because the thing is, even though it's a light area, it's on the shadow side. So a light area on the shadow side is still going to be darker than a mid-tone on the light side. And now I'm just softening up this area, getting ready for the other areas to come, you know. Oh, Angel says she has to go, but hope to see the rest of this video later. Excellent artwork. Thank you so much, Angel. Always a pleasure. I hope you have a great night and a great weekend, and stay safe. And Angel Wings from Colorado. I'll try and remember it, where you're from. And thank you for coming by. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. We have a great community here, and I think you'd fit in perfectly. I'm just ever so slowly working this area, right? I have the lifeline colors, so it's enabling me to, you know, create a nice soft tapestry of her flesh. But notice that the values are very compressed. And you might say, well, you're messing up the hair, Tim. That's okay. You know, the most important thing is to get the portrait correct. And you may have some blotchiness here, but we're doing so many layers. Don't worry about that. You know, things will resolve themselves in time. And like I said, everything's going to look super light and super fuzzy, because when we come in with the detail, that's when things are really going to happen. Okay, so now it's nice and soft, and we're just going to try two things. I'm going to try using the lighter color. We might get a blue shift with this, so I'm thinking, let's try this color right here, the light natural. Let's see what that does. We might like it, we might hate it. So, but we're just going to blow some air over this to dry some of this painting here. And we're going to dump this out. Actually, no, we'll keep this like our flesh colors, and we'll use this for our lights here. I'm going to neglect right away to use my white and orange mixture. Right now I want to kind of stick with some of the lifeline colors and see how that goes. We may get a blue shift, so I'm going to do a little test. And it's not the end of the world if we get a blue shift. Let's see how this goes. I did a no-no. I mixed in the cup. I don't know what I was thinking. But that's what happens. Sometimes you have like these momentary lapses. So we'll see if I pay the price of mixing in the cup. And let's see. I am going to test this out here. This is a very light color. The color, once again, is the Lifeline, and this is the 5025. And so let's see how this goes. So far, no blue shift, but let's see in the darker area. Undecided just yet. I think it's okay. Could be a little warmer. And I can always dust over that with a warmer color. And just kind of softening up this here. So now what I'll do is I'll take this darker color, kind of warm it up a little bit. We'll do the same over here. Yes, mixing in the cup is a little scary. Yeah, better in the cup than over the painting. Very true. I don't mind it in her body here. I think the color is really good in her body. And I'm going to build that up here, so no worries. But now that I'm looking at it, I think I would be better off if I did use the white mixture. So I'm going to empty this out, and we're going to do our orange and white mixture. I think that's prudent. And we're going to clean out this cup here. And just trust the process, guys. Never look at how it looks. Always trust the process. Okay, so I have a cup here, and we're going to take our illustration white, and as soon as I find it, and we're going to just coat the bottom. When you coat the bottom like this, it's 20 drops. And then I'm going to take 2 drops of my illustration orange. Sometimes you get 3, that's okay. And then I'm going to do a 1-to-1 mixture. Maybe a little bit lighter. And then just take my plastic palette knife and we'll just mix this here. Now this is a little orangey. With that being said, I am going to add just a little bit more white. You don't want it too orangey, you know? I mean, that's for sure. Because then you have something different. There you go. Hey, how you doing, Colette? All the way from the Atlanta area. How are you today? I'm so glad you're here. How's everything? And let's see. We're going to put this in here. And I'm putting it on my wet palette. My wet palette is my staging area for my paints. All right, let's see what we got here. This is going to be better. And we're getting a much purer light when we're working with this color. So even if you do have a little bit of blue shift, we can always fix that with the next layer of color. So it's not the end of the world. Because we're working, you know, one layer on top of another. So it is a beautiful white color. And like I said, I'm just worrying about turning the forms. And everything's going to look fuzzy. That's okay. But this nose is a cylinder, so I'm worried about that cylinder shape. And then the orbicularosaurus. That's a round shape, so I'm going to worry about that. So like right here, it has a little bit of a purple sheen to it. I can just come in and glaze that with a much warmer color, and that will help us out. And now with this lighter color, you know, this orange and white mixture, I can start softening things up and come back in again. It's almost like getting everything ready for the more powerful colors. Same thing with the lips, right? I'm going to go over those lips, soften those edges. So right now I'm kind of shifting my thinking, and now it's about softening things up. And that's what it is. So when you soften things up, then we can come in and start doing other things. The sternocleidomastoid, that's right, Colette. And that's cool. Oh, I'm so glad, Colette, that everything is good. See how I'm kind of dusting over everything? I'm going to do that with her body as well. See, right now, before I did this, the body was kind of broken up, so I'm going to unify that with this orange and white mixture. Sometimes I do that, and this is one of those times. So I'm about 6 inches away, and I'm just kind of unifying everything right now. And then I'll come in with those colors again. And I'll go right into the hair. Just unifying everything. This is the soft part, the fuzzy part, right? Because you see before when we were working wet into dry, everything kind of like got real stiff and lifeless. And so what I'm doing right now is kind of unifying everything. So it looks like, you know, this is a person's body, not a conglomeration of different values and colors. Okay, so now we have this, and make sure if I see anything that's kind of blotchy, I'm just going to attack it with this orange and white mixture. So now what we have is we have something that is nice and neutral, and then we can kind of attack it from there, which is really good. And so now, what color we have in this airbrush here? Okay, so we have the deep olive gold, and let's sort of bring that deep olive gold into the mix here. See how it's kind of softening this here? See how it's kind of getting rid of that harsh kind of purplish color? So I'm going to keep doing this over and over again. I'll darken it, I'll lighten it up, and then I'll keep doing that back and forth. And that's a really good case for not going too fast into detail, right? And also, again, I'm still compressing all these values here. Stemoclemid D asteroid. I think that's a different mussel. So I'm going to bring in some of this warmth here. Any imperfection, I'm just going to take my time. See, imperfections can't outlast working on it, you know, in a slow, methodical way. Just kind of blow some air on here. Okay. All right, so we have a very light area here with her Cupid's bow, but for some reason that's weird. That name is escaping me. I'm going to lighten it up because I don't want it to be too harsh, right? So anything that I see is too harsh, I'm going to have to lighten it up. But I don't want to get it too wet. The philtrum, I don't know why that name was at the tip of my tongue. Just keep at it, right? That's the whole thing. You're just going to keep at it. But you want to build up those values slowly and create a surface texture, right? A kind of surface quality that takes time. Rub it 3 times a day. Sounds like a vaccination at the army. So here I can kind of bring in now, even though I have a dark color, I can actually use that to bring in the light of this sternocleidomastoid over here, and then this clavicle over here. Kind of think of it in terms of, you know, so for some reason I'm getting a dark shift over here. I'm not sure why, but we're going to just leave that be for now and then come back to it. Then we'll let that dry because that was the white mixture and orange mixture that we were using. So something's happening over here. I'm not sure. We're going to let that thoroughly dry before we decide exactly what to do. And we're going to lighten that up, but let that dry, right? That's the thing. We have to make sure we let it dry. All right, so now I want to come in with a little darker color. So I am going to take this kind of, I think it was deep olive gold. I'm going to go a little bit darker. Let's see, what color could we come in with? A little bit deeper. So I'm going to get this espresso color. And it's a nice deep color. We're going to put that in a different cup. And it's not too much darker, but it's a little bit darker. It shouldn't be bleeding through. This is 386 pound paper. So what's happening, I'm not sure. It may be it just never happened to me before. But that's the fun part of painting in live streams. You know, you never know what's going to happen in live TV. But like I said, you know, and I always tell my students, never get emotional. Like me, never like get obsessed with that area and make it worse. I'm just going to let it dry, and then we'll work from there. It's not quite as dark as I want, so I'm going to add some of this deep espresso to it. Let's see. Come over here. Hey, what's up there, Patrick? Great to see you, my friend. So glad you're here. How's everything, Patrick from Massachusetts? Okay, so we have this deep color here. Let's see. And it's just slightly darker. It's nothing too crazy. I'm going to slowly build that up. Looks like I'm having a hard time today, but that's okay. We'll get through this. And I have this light mixture here. Just kind of getting a handle on these color shifts here. I'm kind of going over it with the white and orange mixture, kind of neutralizing it a little bit. Yeah, this is a humbling experience right now, but it just goes to show you everyone has trouble, you know? And I'm having some really weird issues with this portrait. It's like the surface is doing something really weird on me. But it doesn't mean I'm giving up. Seems like I have to tame this surface. I think that's what's happening. For some reason, I'm needing to tame this surface today. And, you know, I've been working on this surface for a solid year, so I'm not really sure, you know, where the difficulties are coming from. You know, where they began. Okay, so now we're going to kind of step back a little bit, and I'm going to work on the eyes and see how that goes. And I'm just going to kind of let that stay for a while, and then I'm going to actually do a little bit of brush work with the eyes. So let's do that together. So thanks, man. I appreciate that. It is a fun image, definitely. You know, it really is a lot of fun. So she is giving me a little bit of a hard time, but she wouldn't be the first woman that gave me a hard time. Let's see. But you know what? Sometimes the best ones give you a hard time. Okay, so now, see, like this area right here, I'm not really sure. That never happened to me before. And so, really interesting how certain things that have never happened before. But I'm going to actually come in, we're going to work on her eyes a little bit. So I'm going to get rid of this color, which is actually, yeah. I think I'm going to go ahead and start shifting into the Wicked colors. And kind of mix my own colors and see how that goes. Sometimes there's a message in this. Mark W. says, does anyone mix like 7 drops of transparent, 3 drops of distilled water, and 2 drops of paint to keep things more on the transparent side, or approximately? You know, I always keep my transparents for the end, you know. I start out, you know, opaque, of course, when I'm working in black and white, but when I start in the color, I always use the transparents to do glazes, you know, because you want to see what's underneath, you know. So that's basically how I handle that. So her eyes are this hazel color. So I'm going to get some hazel color, and we're going to be using, we're doing a shift over into our Wicked colors. So I'm going to look for raw sienna, I think. I believe raw sienna is up here. So Wicked cream color, that's not what we want. We want raw sienna. Yellow ochre would be fine, but I would rather have raw sienna between you and I. And what's this here? Here we go. So interesting. I think this, so here is raw sienna, this yellow ochre, and detail raw sienna. I'm going to go with raw sienna because that was my first thought, you know. You probably don't need Osage. What's Osage? Yeah, you know, when it comes to paint, always paint lighter and then go darker slowly. That's always the best bet to do for me. And it pretty much is the same with any medium that I use. So, you know, you can always go darker, but it's really difficult to go lighter, isn't it, guys? I'm going to put a couple, opaque is using, opaque if you're using transparent. Yeah, you know, I like both. So I'm going to put a couple of drops of the raw sienna, and then I'm going to put some of, here's detailed sepia, that'll work. Very similar to or umber. Ooh, that's too much. Let's see. So we're not using water. We're using 4011. So I just have to locate our 4011 here. There we go. Here's an empty bottle of 4011, but we have enough in here, I think. Not really. Okay. And Dave says, I will add a little water or reduce it to thin the paint further as you're working blends and shading the project calls for it. Very good advice. Yeah, you know, whatever works for you is definitely, and it's also trial and error. You don't know what's going to happen until you do it, right? So I have a fresh bottle of 4011. And I start out 1:1. And I'm looking at the color for her eyes. And I think this is pretty close. And I'm going to get rid of anything that's in this cup because of that deep espresso, right? That's pretty strong. Let's see up here. Yeah, opaques, you know, I see opaques and transparents are really funny. When I'm doing a portrait, you know, everything seems to be on the opaque side, the semi-opaque side until the end when you want to make little color shifts. That's basically, you know, my approach to it. Okay, now let's slowly add this kind of really beautiful hazel eye color on her. And we'll go with the other eye as well. There we go, just establishing that right now. And oh, Astral says he saves his empty vape bottles he gets free from the vape store. Very cool. I mix a lot in the cup too. And oh, cool. Okay, a lot of great different ideas, which is wonderful. Thank you everybody for sharing them. Okay. Now I have that orange and white mixture. And I'm going to do an experiment, but I don't want to do an experiment on my painting, right? So let's put this here. Let me zoom out here. So right here, I'm going to put this raw sienna sepia color. I'm going to see how the white mixture is going to handle it, right? What air pressure? Great question. So I set it and forget it. 25 psi, never touch it. And then any kind of variation, I always go with the pack valves or the Mac valves, whatever you may have. I rarely go over 25 psi, so I don't really need to do that. If you are a little bit more of a cowboy than I am, then maybe 30 psi, but no faster than that. I mean, no higher than that, definitely. Oh, let's do the test. Very nice. Okay. So that's good. Remember, I'm not getting emotional about this stuff. It's not going my way right now, but you know what? I'm not going to freak out, even though you want to. And then we can come back in with our color. And just kind of work it back and forth, right? Okay, so I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to use a little paintbrush action, and we're going to work on the outside of the iris here. So let's see. So I think it's kind of that sepia color with the wicked, right? So I'm going to take some of this detailed sepia and I'm going to put it in a bottle, and we're kind of at the end of it. Okay, at the end of the sepia. Now we're going to 40-11 it, right? Which is like a 1-to-1 I usually like to do. And then we'll mix it. You know what? And thanks for the vote of confidence, Colette, but you learn more than a trial than you ever do from a smooth success. And so that's important. It's important to remember that. Okay, so I have this here. All right, so let's zoom in. We'll work on this eye first. And if you see yourself getting too wet, you just kind of do the dry brush technique. And then we'll do the same on the other eye. We're just building this up slowly. Let me move this over. Mr. Tone, how are you, my friend? Great to see you. How's everything? There we go. And we're going to go a little bit darker. So I'm going to take that same mixture, put it in a different cup, but I'm going to add some of the, let me see, like a dark gray. I'm going to add a dark gray to it in a different cup. Go through a lot of cups. And just a little bit of that sepia. Because we don't want it just gray, because it does have some saturation. Gray and black is unsaturated. There's no color in it. So you got to add some color to it. Otherwise it's going to be dead. And dead color is rare in nature. Okay. Get rid of the excess water. Go back to basics whenever you run into any kind of technical issues. Hey Gary, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you. How's everything? Gary from Hershey. So glad you're here, my friend. And how's Kyle doing? I know he's in rehab, and that's good. It's all progress, right, sir? Ah, Mark says doing great, but almost bedtime. Everyone have a great night. Appreciate you welcoming. Mark, always a pleasure. Take care, my friend. Always a pleasure to see you. Hope to see you next week. Okay. And now we'll just zoom out. There we go. And we're going to come in again with this raw sienna color. Kind of just continue building up and softening. And then I'll come in with the other color later. And then since I have this color here, maybe we could kind of establish the eyebrows. That wouldn't be too bad. And we'll just soften this up. And like I said, in the fuzzy part of the painting, things are going to look kind of out of whack because there are no darks. Everything is kind of fuzzy. But notice how everything starts to kind of fall into line because now all these little changes are not so prevalent. So it's important when things go out of rye, and they will go a little south on you. That happens no matter what we do in life. But the best thing to do is to step back and to kind of assess the situation and kind of work on it slowly. Don't get emotional about your progress. Oh, Gary, that's great. Every day a bit better, you know? And I'm so happy that, you know, he's going in the right direction and he has such a great support system with his family and his girlfriend and everything. So, he's always in my prayers, Gary. But you see how it's turning around? See how, you say a little prayer as far as the painting and also with Kyle, things are turning around. And, you know, and the important thing is, like when I'm painting, is to stop and say, okay, God, what am I doing wrong? You know? And, you get direction, and I actually feel like, okay, stick with what you know right now. What are you sure of, right? And I'm sure of the detail. And I have the wet palette right here. So cool. So what a great group we have today. I really appreciate everybody just hanging out with me. That's such a big boost. I really mean that. Normally I don't go into detail so soon, but when things were kind of going a little bit crazy, I needed to have some grounding. Just needed to be grounded a little bit. And that's important, you know, the grounding part in everything I find is just super, super important. Dave, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate your encouragement and your friendship. And, you know, thank you so much for your generosity. It means the world to me, sir. It makes me realize that, you know, maybe I'm doing the right thing. So these Wednesday nights have really become something very special for me. And, you know, you guys doing that is just really exciting, and I appreciate it. Now, I have this, uh, and I'm also really looking forward to working with you tomorrow, Mr. Gregory. And Astral says he recently ruined a portrait he was practicing on. Astral said he screwed one of the eyes up and tried to quickly correct it and ended up making a hole in the paper. Yes, you just have to stop and assess, do a little prayer. So, Mr. Gary, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that, your generosity and your friendship as well. And, you know, always seeing you, you know, on Wednesday is always amazing. You know, whenever you're here, it's always amazing. And I know you're busy. You have a busy life, as everyone does. And the fact that you hang out with me is really great. Got to get rid of this bug. There was a bug on my computer. And, but yes, thank you so much, Mr. Gary. I really appreciate it. And you guys are just really great friends to me and just really helps out the channel, you know. Just allows me to keep going, you know. Helps me to keep going. So I'm going to hit the crease between the two lips. Just going to establish it, right? Nothing too crazy, just a slight establishment of it. Oh, yes, Gary, you're going to love it. Such a perfect frame that's in there, a really wonderful mat. Uh, you know, I have it wired so you can just, when it comes, you just go ahead and hang it. So it should arrive tomorrow, Gary. And I'm very interested in if you like the painting and the frame job. I think they did a wonderful job. It's funny, when they first did it, I didn't like the job, so I had them do it over again. I was nice about it, but I didn't like the way that they matted it. They didn't center it, so I definitely made them do it again. It was part of the delay, you know, and I'm sorry for the delay, sir. Uh, oh, no, my pleasure. And I wanted to be really special, you know, and just to put it right, you know, and working out the matte color, you know, and the frame and everything. So hopefully the whole thing works together. So you see, just by, you know, chilling out, right, and not getting so nervous, it's not as bad as it was, right? Before it was like, oh my God, this is like a disaster. I can't get out of this. You can always get out of it with prayer and patience and stepping back and saying, you know what? I'm not going to fall into that trap. Maybe what's happening, I'm getting too pigeonholed in this area. Holy cow, there's like a roach right on my table here. That's really gross. And okay, some of the reasons why not to have a basement studio. uh, oh, thank you so much, Gary, for hanging. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for the super chat, sir. And let me know when you have time. when it arrives if you like it. Okay, sir? So thank you so much for that. And have a great night, my friend. And so now you can see things are chilling out a little bit. So I'm going to go one further. What I want to do, I just had a bug on my palette, and a big one, that was really scary. So I'm going to clean this brush, because you know what, with Wicked Paint, you really have to wash this with soap and water if you want it to live. So I am going to just be right back. I'm going to put some soap and water on this. It's been a crazy live stream. The surface is doing weird things for me. There's a bug. Not Dave Gregory the bug, but an actual bug that was actually on my palette, a big sucker. And Dave says he doesn't know whether to be offended. That's hilarious. So now what I'm going to do is I want to de-emphasize all of that. You see how this is kind of de-emphasizing it and kind of making it a smaller problem than it was before, right? So, and that's what we need to do, right? So right now, they're kind of weird, right? But only because that's what we're focusing on, right? So now I want to come back with the hair. And I'm going to simplify things. I'm going to darken her hair. But I'm just going to use a dark gray. And then I may glaze with some color. But right now, when things get a little crazy, what we have to do is simplify, right? When things get out of control, we simplify. Simplify everything. We've all been there, no matter what stage you're at. We've all been there. We've all been at that part of our artwork where, everything's going great. You're in that groove. And then all of a sudden, you're like, why is this surface doing this to me? What's happening? And you feel that way with your whole painting session. And it could be the whole day. But that's where the real learning is. That's where the real growth lies in these times. It's not when everything goes great and look at my technique and how wonderful that is. I mean, that's nice. It's good for the ego and everything. But as far as growth, what makes us a better artist? What gives us something to teach? Because, I could be working with somebody, or someone can come to me and say, what happened with these colors? I don't know what's going on, and I keep working and it keeps getting worse and worse. And now I could tell them, you just need to back things up, slow it down, go forward, but tread lightly, work on things and then go from there, right? If you can concentrate on what you concentrate on where your strengths are, then you could assess and say, okay, what happened here? And that's what we want to do. And I have this kind of olivey color here. I'm going to put in that nice deep color. Let me get a cup. I don't know where that big bug went. It's probably going to turn up my bed at night. It's like, I remember the one scene in Woody Allen's Annie Hall. And she called him over and she said there's a spider in the bathroom. And he goes in with this magazine and he goes into the bathroom and he says, that that spider is the size of a Buick. And then he says, I have to kill it because it's going to turn up in his bed, you know? It's so funny. Love Woody Allen. As a comic writer, I don't think there's anyone better. So here we have this nice kind of deep gray. And what I want to do is I want to add like maybe some burnt umber in there. Here we go. We have some opaque, wicked opaque burnt umber. And to thin this, since I'm putting a mixture of wicked and illustration, I'm going to go with the 4011, right? You don't want to do water. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this. You're not going to see too much of a difference, but we raised the saturation a little bit. It's not just gray. And we're really going to worry about the contour. So we're going to put that right on the edge. So Astral's laughing at what Mr. Dave Gregory said. That's funny about the bug. All right, here goes nothing. Gonna put some of this in here. Gonna put the cap on it. I'm a big cap guy, you know, because you don't wanna test fate, you know. You don't realize you're at a certain angle. So I have my hair only stencil here. And I'm really just establishing the dark, right? I'm not really worried about getting the color perfect, you know. Oh yeah, so I talked to Dennis over at, really wonderful guy over at Createx, and he said you can certainly mix the two, you know. So I'm going to be darkening this paint here in the hair. It's going to be two things. You know, I have to darken the hair anyway. But what it's going to do, it's going to de-emphasize all that weirdness over here. And then I could assess the situation. If that's the only thing I'm working at, then all I'm seeing is the issue. And I'm not seeing how it relates to the rest of the painting. It gets your mind off of that too, right? You have to. And keep your reference in front of you. Now you don't want to get too dark, but dark enough that you start putting things in their place. And you got to be tenacious, you know? You got to be like Wally Backman on the 86 Mets, you know? Not the greatest amount of talent, but you know what? Whatever talent he had, he made it work through sheer grit and tenacity. So I'm going to lift this up. I don't want to do much. I just want to establish that dark. Then you're going to see everything lighten up. And what would really look like the end of the world is not that bad. I think I was trying to go too fast too soon. And I was, one of the issues, I think, just, trying to do too much too fast. Going from one color to the next with the lifeline colors probably wasn't wise. But the main thing is we're just assessing, right? That's the main thing. So let's lift that up. Okay, remember what looked like a disaster before? It does not look that bad anymore. I mean, I don't really see the big issues at all. I mean, I think everything's kind of working in the direction I want it to go. I have to warm things up. But before, when all this was light and I only saw this, it was like, and I didn't come in with the darks in the lips, you know, in between the lips, the nostril, the eyes, and then the hair. Everything kind of works together now. And a change is as good as a rest. Interesting. Um, so, hey, not Nick, how's it going? Great to see you. I don't know if I've seen you before, if you were here. Not Nick, thank you so much for hanging. Where are you from? That's great. It's great to see you. So I think going forward, I am going to abandon the Lifeline colors. I think the Lifeline colors are great as an underpainting, but I'm not sure how they reacted when we tried to do a full painting with the Lifeline colors. I think the Lifeline colors are great as an underpainting, a color underpainting, but then establishing the values, I think that's something that really takes mixing the colors. So, yes, so the difference in the tone, definitely. So remember, it looked like a disaster. You all felt very bad for me. But I didn't panic. And right now this is still a very good start. But what happened is that I was trying to use these not knowing how they're going to react from one another. And because I never really went too deep, I used these in the early going, and that's where they should be used, in the early going. I don't think you are wanting to paint with these throughout. I just don't think that would be a good idea because, you know, these values are wonderful values, but we don't know exactly what's in these. So when you start interacting, there could be a magenta in here that kind of reacts to a light ochre in here. So those are different things. So that might be what happened. So the takeaway is a really good learning experience. Not only approaches, but also the fact of the matter is, you know, what the lifelines are good. They're good for color underpaintings. A point of departure to start going in with color, right? So I think that's great. I'm going to take, I have a lot of cups of color. So I'm just going to take a moment and move these cups of color out of the way. And this way I don't spill, right? And that's good. So I have my orange and white mixture. The orange and white mixture is very predictable, but it wasn't predictable with the Lifeline colors. This is water, I believe. I'm not sure. Okay. So now, let's see. What I'm going to do is rather than go with the Lifeline colors, I am going to kind of look for this light flesh color. So let me go ahead and mix the light flesh color on my own. And it's going to be a quick moment. Let's see. Okay, so I see it's this beautiful base of an orange color, right? And I'm just going to get that mixture for me. So I have the flesh color, our target color, and our hue. Okay, and then I have the percentage. So the Gideon color theory is coming soon. It really am very happy with it. So I'm going to get another cup. And we're going to mix this. And I think, let's see. So now I'm looking at the percentage. And, okay. Okay, so with my color theory, it actually gives you the percentage of the colors that you use to get that particular target color. All right, so now I'm looking for, remember, orange is usually the base of all your colors. Remember that. That's what you'll learn. It's basically, that's real basic of how that works. And let's see. And now I'm going to mix this. And then you can see if you're close or far away. And I could see I'm close, but it's much lighter, right? So I have to lighten it. So a lot of times, you know, you may have a percentage that, you know, works for that color, but not all colors are created the same, you know. Some colors, like an illustration red, might be so much more powerful as a wicked yellow. Let's see here. And that is a little too deep for me, and I'm going to lighten it up. And let's see, I'm going to add some of this raw sienna. I don't want to go with a pure yellow, right? So I'm going to do some wicked raw sienna. Put some in there. That's going to shift it over to that from the red and kind of shift it over to the yellowish color. And now I just have to lighten this significantly. And like I said, you know, sometimes, you know, the pigment load in one color might be a lot stronger than the pigment load in another color. So I'm liking this. That's a nice color. I'm going to mix a second version of this that's a little bit lighter. And then, so that's important to have like a lighter and a darker version. But I'll stick with the lighter version for now. So let's make the lighter version. But I do like the chroma or the saturation on this. See how I have the lighter version here? And maybe just a little bit more, put a little bit more of this in there just to bring it together. Beautiful light and a beautiful mid-tone. Now it's not quite, remember we're working with Wicked, right? Wicked with illustration colors. So I'm going to add some of our 4011 because we put some full strength colors in there. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of 4050 because we don't want adherence issues. Just a drop or so. 4050. And here we go again. We're going to mix this up. Okay. Now we have this like really beautiful skin tone. See, right now we have this like really rich color in here. Remember that color we were using with the hair. So we got to be careful when we are, you know, reloading colors and cleaning the other colors. We have to be careful of that. And probably run some water through this, because this kind of dark color we use for the hair is really going to kill, it's really going to kill our flesh color, so we have to be careful. It's a little thick than I normally would like. We're going to test it, see if it comes back to haunt us. Okay, here goes. So I'm going to work with this color right over here. And I'm slowing things down now because I did have a bit of a hard time. So you want to slow things down. Painting's going to be done when it's done, right? And you test the waters, right? I can see that maybe I could get away with this lighter tone in the dark, but you just kind of test those waters a little bit. And I'm liking the way that color looks. So I'm going to just test the waters here and see what that does. I'm liking the softness that I'm getting here. But I'm not going too heavy, right? That's the important thing. Not to go too heavy. Kind of bring it down here. The depressor angle I ore is right over there, so I'm going to try and establish that. And not to get too heavy. Now remember, you want to slow things up, so I'm not going to go into the body right now. I'm just going to stay with the face. Now remember, I'm working with thicker paint here, so just want to make sure we're getting a good flow. The retrobicularis oculi fat compartment right there. Remember, I was way too dark with that. And now we're just revisiting it. Same thing over here. I could lighten it and then go darker, but I want to kind of show this little bit of reflected light coming off of her cheek. But notice the smoothness we're getting now, because I think we're kind of moving away from the lifeline when we're doing the layering. It seems to be much more responsive. Okay. Little bit of overtime today, which is cool. Mr. Astral says it annoys him when he can't tell if the paint is coming out from the airbrush, then finds it's actually blowing air. Yeah, that's where the uh, going with the test paper, always helps. Because I know exactly what you mean, Astral. Things only us airbrush artists know, right, Astral? So some bonus time for us. I'm going to blow this out and we're going to work in with the next darkest color and see how that goes. So if you have time to hang out for another 15 minutes, it would be great. If not, I understand. People got things to do. But yeah, a lot learned today, this evening, a lot learned. And everyone at every level is going to have these days. Not necessarily on the live stream, but, we have them. And, it's not the problem we have, is how we handle it. And even if it goes down, like in flames, there's so much you can learn from that. So much. It's always good to be humbled every now and then. Oh, Bobby says plenty of time. Very cool. Thanks, Bobby. All right, so now we have this color. Let's establish what it is and move on over here. See, it's a little bit more of an orangey saturation. We're going to move this over here. And we're just compressing these values. So the value's not so different, but the saturation is. So it's more color and less gray. Same thing here. We came in and established that light. Now we can come in with the higher saturation and actually warm up that little triangle of light here. And we can hit this orbicularis, the anguli oris, the depressor anguli oris right there. And just warm up some of this area here. And it's softening things up really nicely. Oh, we got to go to sleep right after. Very cool. Thanks for hanging longer, sir. So this warmer color is kind of balancing things out a little bit. And remember, we were working on the philtrum. We can darken that filtrum, but not to the point where it's too dark. And that's why I hit it with that white and orange mixture. Just testing out this one area in her shoulder here. So the trick is I'm just going to hit it and just continue building up the value over here until I have the coverage I want. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start now and stop now. And I just appreciate you guys hanging with me. And it was pretty fun to go down that road together. But we're not giving up. We're going to stick with it, and we're going to learn a lot from this, and kind of go with a pragmatic approach, knowing what happened here. Like always, the best defense is not to be there, right? So I hope that helped, and I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you for the super chats, Mr. Dave and Mr. Gary. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you everyone for hanging out, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Pretty soon I'm going to start doing the oil painting sessions. I'm just not sure exactly when that will be open, but I'll send an email out to you guys when that's possible. So guys, have a great weekend. Take care. Always a pleasure. And I hope to see you next week, if not sooner.